Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
Temperatures again hitting 90 degrees. Tonight, the local forecasters are tracking some cooler weather and our next storm threat.
A search underway in Oakland County in a community for the driver who hit and killed a man in a wheelchair and never stopped.
But we begin with day one of the massive I-275 construction project that's already disrupting traffic across Metro Detroit. That project has 275 down to one lane in both directions, and it won't be finished for 4 years.
4 years. With eastbound I-94 still closed from flooding damage and I-75 construction ongoing, it has created, yes, a mess for the entire area. Priya Mann live along 275 tonight with more on how day one went. Priya.
Yeah, Devin, mess is one way to put it. You know, we spoke to some drivers who weren't even aware this construction project was starting today. We spoke to others who are dreading what their commute will look like. And of course, there are many who were frustrated by seeing those orange barrels for the first time today.
Oh, that's going to be a nightmare.
I mean, it's already hard enough during rush hour. I mean, take that down to one lane, it's going to be 4 times worse, literally.
Both work early morning shifts and are dreading their drives home.
I go to work at 4 a.m., so that's not going to be so bad, but getting off at 4 o'clock, we got off a little bit early today. It's going to be a nightmare.
Well, not only is the freeway going to be backed up now, but all the back roads are.
The $270 million project will repair 65 bridges and 24 miles of freeway from Will Carlton to 6 Mile Road.
We don't have very many of those very often. It's one of the biggest we've ever done in the state.
The project will happen in phases. This year, only one lane of 275 will be open in either direction from Will Carlton to Northline Road. Over the summer, 9 bridges, concrete pavement, and interchanges will be repaired on both sides.
We started pulling the barrels into the lanes about 6, 7 o'clock this morning. But in the very early days, it's always very frustrating, a lot of brake riding, a lot of, angry people trying to merge. So give yourself a lot of extra time.
MDOT says I-275 is nearly 50 years old and repairs were needed on bridge surfaces, barriers, piers, and beams. That means drivers will be looking for detours through 2024.
I didn't know anything about it until you just mentioned it, so it's really going to be something different.
Is it frustrating?
Frustrating, yeah. That's one way to put it.
Now, there won't be any official detours because the freeway will be staying open, albeit with one lane in each direction. For a full list of what those phases will look like over the next 4 years, you can head to clickondetroit.com. At one piece to note, 140,000 drivers use this stretch of I-275 every day. So, word to the wise, take your time. Reporting live in Plymouth, I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
Feels like no matter where you are, the answer is going to be you can't get there from here. All right, Priya. Meanwhile, on I-94, MDOT says the eastbound lanes from Michigan Avenue to West Grand Boulevard, I mentioned earlier that they are closed. They're going to remain closed for at least another week. New video of the construction zone from Sky 4. That stretch of road had extensive damage from the historic flooding that we saw last week. Remained underwater for 4 days. The westbound lanes, though, did reopen last week.
All right, let's check in with Ben, who's been tracking the potential for some pop-up storms, Ben.
Yeah, we've had a couple of them already, guys, but some of those have hit some of our interstates there inside the metro zone. The bigger complex that we're watching is what's going on out here in Livingston County. These were a lot of little cells that have kind of lined up and produced quite a bit of a downpour there around Heartland, moving into western parts of Oakland County. Obviously, there's some lightning strikes there, but look at the rainfall rates here just within the last 5 to 10 minutes. Those purple shades indicating heavy to extreme rainfall rates. So this is really coming down, and this is moving west to east. So some of these places are going to see this for quite a while. We'll keep on top of this as that continues to move east. Temperatures are generally in the upper 80s where the rain is not falling, and the heat index readings still in the 90s, even mid-90s out there in Ann Arbor, and you've already seen a thunderstorm earlier today. So it's going to be a warm, muggy night. Thunderstorm chances will be around. We don't anticipate that these will be severe, but that is a different story tomorrow, and we'll talk more about our severe threat for Wednesday in a few minutes. Guys?
Okay, Ben. A road rage shooting in Troy claims the life of a Detroit fire lieutenant. It happened last night at the Shell gas station on Rochester Road near Waddles. Police say 55-year-old Francis Dombrowski of Rochester Hills had gotten into an altercation with another driver. They say the passenger of a white Jeep Cherokee got out and opened fire. Dombrowski was taken to the hospital where he died. He was a 29-year veteran of the department. Those who knew him call it a great loss.
He was promoted to lieutenant. He's a disciplined man. He risked his life for strangers. He trained firefighters, and he showed up every day without any complaints.
The passenger of that Jeep turned himself in to police overnight. He's expected to be arraigned on charges later this week.
Family in Southfield is asking for answers tonight after someone hit and kills their loved one who was in a wheelchair.
Happened the morning of July 4th at the intersection of George Washington and Martha Washington. Larry Spruill talked to the family, who is delivering an emotional plea to that driver who never stopped to help.
You can see these marks here in the street, and it may not look like much, but a local family says these marks are the aftermath of a tragic accident that killed their loved one. And now they're looking for answers.
They had hit him, they kept going.
That reality is just now settling in for Cherie Daniel.
Everybody know him for him. He stop and talk to you. If you see him, you know you always gonna talk something to you, say something to you. I just want y'all to just find the person who killed my brother.
She says someone hit and killed her 28-year-old twin brother, Tari Daniel, July 4th around 6 in the morning. It happened here at this intersection of George Washington and Martha Washington in Southfield. Tawetta Stewart says her cousin was in his wheelchair heading home.
Someone hit him and left him, and that's the part that hurts the most, because he was already, you know, in a wheelchair. So if you run a person over, why not stop? Why not stop to make sure they're okay?
Stewart says his wheelchair was split in two. Daniel was on the ground when police arrived.
This is just an unfortunate tragedy. You have left an entire family in shambles and pieces. We're hurt. We just want justice. We just want to know what happened. We understand maybe you were scared, but we just want to know, you know, why didn't you stop? That could have made a world of difference. You could have saved his life.
And Southfield police say that possible suspect was driving a Jaguar 2009-2011 Jaguar XF. If you know anything about that driver or this case, you are asked to call Southfield police. We are live tonight. Larry Spruill, Local 4.
Awful. Okay, Larry, thank you.
New 911 calls reveal more details in the fireworks accident that killed NHL goalie Matisse Kivlenieks. It happened Sunday during a party at the home of his coach and former Red Wing goalie Manny Legacy. Here's
Hi, this is the 911 operator. We got a call from your phone line, ma'am. Is there a problem?
Yeah, we got an ad come to your house right now.
What address are you at, ma'am?
Hit with fireworks. We get ready to go into convulsions.
Investigators say the 24-year-old was in the hot tub when a firework tipped and fired at him. EMTs arrived at 10:13. They rushed him to Ascension Providence Hospital, where Kivlenieks was pronounced dead. Novi police believe it was a tragic accident.
Well, now that Michigan can get back to something resembling a normal schedule, there's a pesky problem cropping up. We're seeing rising gasoline prices, the highest we've paid in a very long time. So is this quick up and down like lumber, or is it something altogether other than that? For some answers, we turn to Local 4 business editor Rod Maloney with some perspective, which you're so good at giving us, Rod.
Well, thank you, Kimberly. That's very kind of you. You know, I mean, it's not enough that you're going to be in traffic on I-275, and 4th of July traffic on the highways is pretty thick. Now you're paying more at the pump. It's been a while since we spent $40 or $50 on a tank of gas, and while we're taking notice,
I look at it as an annoyance.
High post-COVID temps mean everyone wants out of the house and out of town, making for a particularly high-demand summer travel season, pushing up prices. Yet for some perspective, let's look back at July 6th regular unleaded prices in Michigan for the past 5 years. AAA Michigan saying today's price is $3.20 a gallon. Last year was the good one if you could travel, $2.17 a gallon, nearly 50% less than this year. In 2019, we paid $2.87 a gallon. In 2018, just slightly higher at $2.95 a gallon. And in 2017, it was just another banner year at $2.35 a gallon. But for the ultimate reality check, the July 6th gas price in 2011, 10 years ago, was a whopping $3.80, or nearly 20% more than the high price we're paying today. Of course, we all want to know one thing. Are these kinds of prices here to stay? So I asked IHS Markit petroleum pricing analyst Tom Kloza that very question.
So I think we're going to see fairly high prices stick around in July and August, maybe wobble a little bit, 5 or 10 cents higher, 5 or 10 cents lower. And, the impact of hurricanes at the Gulf Coast is always something you worry about, particularly in August.
And so if we don't get that hurricane, or if we don't have some other supply disruption, he believes that we're probably going to see prices start to fade just after Labor Day. And as we normally do, they'll stay that way until we get to about Thanksgiving, and then the holiday season, well, all bets are off. Back to you.
Okay, so that's the holiday season, Christmas, Thanksgiving. How far out does Tom Close's crystal ball look ahead? Does it look past that, Rod?
Well, yes, it does. As a matter of fact, it goes into 2022, and he believes that the market will start to stabilize post-COVID, and he thinks that we'll start to see prices coming down as the supply gets better.
Yeah, let's hope so. Okay, Rod, we appreciate it. Still ahead, new concerns about the effectiveness of the Pfizer vaccine against one of the most contagious variants.
Dr. Frank George will join us to break down the results of a new study just out.
But first, the ACLU is now calling for action after a series of racist incidents are reported in Brighton schools. That's next.